My name is Julia. I'm 32 years old. My husband David is 35 and the youngest of 3 brothers in his family. Both his older brothers are already married. Andreas, the eldest, is currently on a work trip abroad with his family. Francisco, the second brother, married into another family and lives far away. David and I also live more than a 3-hour drive from his parents' house. We're planning to move in with Andreas and his family once they return from overseas. One day, we learned that David's parents' house needed renovation due to its age. Luckily, they aren't short on money, and Andreas has been sending them money every month. However, I decided to check with David. "How are we handling the renovation costs?" He replied, "The brothers are discussing contributing together." To which I said, "Then make sure you take it from your account. I won't be contributing." David agreed without hesitation, and the subject never came up again from him. But one day, when I casually checked the balance of our savings account, it read $0, which was shocking. We have several accounts where we divide our money. Since we both work, our salaries are deposited into separate accounts, one for savings under David's name and another for living expenses under mine. Have always considered both accounts as our shared finances. We each have personal accounts too, where we keep our individual earnings. And for this renovation, the funds were withdrawn from David's savings account. Moreover, the total amount was about $30,000. I discovered it on payday when I went to make a deposit. Panicked, I checked my personal account designated for living expenses, and thankfully it still had money. That night when I confronted David, he casually admitted, "Yeah, I took it from there." Checking the passbook, I found that the money was withdrawn the day after he mentioned the renovation to me. "Why did you do that? I told you to use your account," I said, angry. "It's my account, isn't it? It's in my name," he replied. "But if it was all your money, I wouldn't say anything. But half of it is mine, right? We have separate salary accounts. Why don't you use that? Do you really think this is okay?" I argued. David looked confused, not understanding what I was saying or what was happening, insisting, "It's in my name, so it's fine." "I don't intend to pay for this. Give me back my half. It's the money I deposited," I demanded. "Always about money. We're not struggling for living expenses. We can just save up again." He wouldn't discuss it further. I wondered, isn't $30,000 a lot for one person? How much did the other brothers contribute? Curious, I contacted Francisco. Francisco was surprised. "Renovation? What's that? I haven't heard anything about it." Of course, Francisco hadn't contributed any money either. When I checked with my sister-in-law, she was baffled, saying, "What? We don't even know when we're coming back. It would be a problem if they just went ahead without telling us." She seemed completely unaware of the renovation. Then I contacted my mother-in-law, Anna, who cheerfully replied, "I was planning to thank you soon. It's really a big help." It turns out my foolish husband David had blurted out something like, "I'll cover whatever's lacking." Julia agreed to it too. At this point, my mind was in total disarray. I had been saving hard, thinking of a future with children or possibly buying a condominium. Thought that this money was being used for a renovation at my in-laws' house, where we had no plans to live, brought me to tears. I was worried about our future as a couple, seeing how David was confusing our shared finances with his own. Then I got a call from David. It seemed he had heard from Francisco. His first words were, "Why did you tell Francisco?" Which made me realize things were really bad. Last time I called Anna at my in-laws, she had said she was grateful for the $30,000 and I couldn't tell her the truth, so I just went along with it and hung up. But then I called back to tell her the real situation. Anna was genuinely planning to renovate soon, but when she mentioned it, David had said, "Is money an issue? I can prepare about $30,000. She was speechless. The renovation was just interior and layout changes, not considering our living together at all. It seems they hadn't considered living together with us at all. I informed my workplace that I would be taking some time off, packed my belongings including my bank card and seal, and left the house. When I got to my parents' house, they weren't there. I explained the situation to my dad over the phone, and he said,
"It's good you're coming back, but I'll be late today, so stay at a relative's house."
So I took refuge at my relatives. There were many missed calls and texts from David on my phone.
"Don't do things on your own. That's my money, right? Why even tell Mom? Don't start asking for money back now. You work too, Julia. You can easily earn that much. I'm not saying we have to live together, so it's fine. Didn't you even encourage the renovation? Don't act like a child."
I hadn't opposed the idea of renovation. I thought a nicer house would be more comforting for the rest of their lives, and if Andreas's family really came back to live together, it would be impossible in that old house. But that was a general opinion, not an agreement to live together or contribute money. David's arrogance saying,
"It's my money,"
but then acting grand about just $15,000 was infuriating. I saved David's text on an SD card and transferred the data to my computer. I didn't answer the phone, thinking David would just say the same things as in his texts, so I ignored it. I might have received voicemails, but I didn't feel like listening to them. I didn't want to hint at divorce and have David act preemptively. So I planned to let him think I was just being childish and then take decisive action. Before we started saving, David and I had discussed, let's work hard and save money together for the future. I thought he understood, but apparently he didn't. I realized even if I got the money back, things wouldn't be solved amicably. So I decided it was best to move towards divorce. That night, I searched for local lawyers and planned to start contacting them the next day. Then my mom called, worried because I wasn't answering my phone. She thought something had happened. When I explained everything to her, she said, "Consulting a lawyer directly might be tough. We'll handle finding one." Apparently, a classmate of my dad's who specializes in divorce cases would be able to set up an appointment for us. The next morning, I went to the lawyer's office with my parents. At first, my parents were concerned about me getting a divorce at 32 and suggested trying to rebuild the marriage. However, my resolve was firm, and after explaining how David didn't seem to recognize our savings as shared marital property and even lied to use it, the lawyer said,
"Under these circumstances, divorce is understandable."
The lawyer, after hearing about David's text and phone calls, also agreed that reconciliation was impossible. I left the legal proceedings to the lawyer and we proceeded straight towards divorce. However, after we returned from the lawyer's office, Anna came to my parents' house unannounced. Anna, deeply apologetic at the doorstep, begged, "Please reconsider and get back with David." When Julia willingly contributed the money, none of this would have happened. Hearing this, I thought, she's not even reflecting on what happened, and said to Anna, "That money was an important asset I planned and saved for our future together. It's not about the amount. David, using it on his own undermines the trust in our marriage. How can I continue a marital life with someone like that? I don't want Anna to make it sound like it's my fault. There's nothing left to discuss. Please leave." I turned Anna away. Afterwards, my parents also spoke sternly, so I think it's okay. But I'm worried that surprise visits might continue for a while. David was promptly contacted by the lawyer and his texts kept coming incessantly. The most shocking text from David was,
"If you're so upset about me using my money to renovate my parents' house, why not use Julia's money to renovate her parents' house next time? That should settle it."
I couldn't understand David's way of thinking at all. He also sent texts like,
"I was lonely yesterday. I realized I can't do anything without Julia. You're coming back today, right? I want to eat a warm meal."
As if a warm meal can be simply bought from a convenience store and heated up. And then there were texts that seemed like angry retorts.
"If you're not coming back, give back the card for the living expenses account. My money is in there too. You're at your parents' house, right? You don't need living expenses."
Even my parents were dumbfounded by this. David used to be normal, but I don't understand why things turned out this way. He used to share household chores and we would show each other our bank statements. He was serious about his work and talked about having children soon, seeming like a completely normal husband. We only visited his parents' house around Christmas, and I never felt forced to do so. Both David and I own cars, but since we each bought our own, they are in our individual names. So we've paid for car maintenance and gas with our own money. Initially, I suggested that car expenses should come from our living expenses, but David said,
It's fine for Julia's car, but mine is bigger and costs more to maintain, so I'll pay for it myself.
So I decided to pay for my car expenses with my own money too. It makes me wonder, is he really the same person as back then? A few days later, there was a call from the lawyer at my parents' house. Tomorrow, I'm supposed to meet David, and it seems Anna will be there too. The lawyer asked for the renovation details, but initially, Anna claimed she lost them. However, when the lawyer insisted that it could be verified, Anna reluctantly agreed to look for them. Then, a shocking revelation came to light. The renovation details David's family provided were clearly tampered with. The lawyer didn't confront them on the spot, but took a copy and checked with the construction company today. It was confirmed that the documents were altered, and they discussed how to handle this with the company's lawyer. Anna barged in and for some reason blamed me. I was completely uninvolved and unaware, but the construction company wanted me to hear the situation. So I went to David's parents' house with my lawyer to explain. I had to face David there, but since I've left our marital issues to the lawyer, I didn't speak to him, only talked to the construction company's lawyer as necessary and then left. Anna called me a harsh wife. I couldn't help but retort, "Who's talking?" I don't understand Anna's logic. It seems there was never an intention to use the entire $30,000 David provided for the renovation. Anna was caught by David for not doing so and demanded the remaining money. She apparently thought, "I've already spent it, so I'll just alter the documents. We're getting divorced anyway, and I can blame Julia." David believed he had covered the shortfall of $30,000 for the renovation. Hearing this, I felt a bit sorry for David. But more than that, I wanted to cut ties with such a family. When I saw the $7,500 renovation at the in-laws' house for the first time, I thought, really? That's it? It wasn't about the quality of the construction company's work, but more about whether such renovations really changed anything in their lives. However, the appliances in the house were state-of-the-art. It turns out about $20,000 was spent on electronics and custom-made furniture, and $15,000 of what was David's money. Anna was laughing, saying, "We went over the initial budget." The details proved that the money that caused our divorce was misused by Anna, who frivolously spent the $30,000 David gave her and attempted to cover it up with altered documents, leading to a resolution. The lawyer for the construction company suggested settling the matter amicably, but the on-site workers were angry, fearing they might be held responsible. Well, it's a family of someone who will soon be a stranger to me, so whatever happens is none of my business. I realized it was good to know before having children or buying a house that Anna, who was not usually so condescending, could be so arrogant. Later, David came to my workplace. I saw him from a distance at the main entrance, oddly dressed in a black tuxedo with a bow tie, holding a bouquet of roses. Recognizing David from afar, I ignored him and left. My colleagues know what David looks like, so he must be the laughingstock by now. The next day, I thought about coming in at a different time, but the lawyer advised me to take the day off.
"They'll probably show up at your quitting time too,"
they said. During a meeting with the lawyer, David called them. He apparently asked,
"Isn't she at work today?"
The lawyer replied,
"If someone stands in front of the company dressed like they're in a punishment game, it's normal for people to avoid them."
The lawyer also warned,
"If he comes here again tomorrow, we will call the police."
David's reason for coming in that attire was apparently to apologize, but such an apology is meaningless. The next day, David also took off from work, which was even more unsettling and creepy. A few days later, I met David at the lawyer's office. I thought he would bring Anna, but surprisingly, he came alone. A few days before meeting David, I received a letter of apology and an envelope from the lawyer. The apology was handwritten on 10 sheets of stationery. The first few pages were admissions of his faults, and the rest were reminiscences of our times together, like going to the beach and having fun. The envelope was thick, so I thought it might contain cash. The lawyer asked me,
"Do you want to take this with you?"
I said, "Please tell him I've read it," and asked the lawyer to return it. However, David brought the letter back. I refused to accept it, having already read it. Along with the letter, I was given a contact address, which turned out to be his parents' home. It became clear that David was not living independently. The lawyer said,
"There's no need for contact details if we're divorcing,"
and David retracted them. The lawyer ended up keeping the letter. After the discussion, as I was about to leave the office first, David shouted with tears in his voice,
"I was happy to have been married to Julia."
I thought this would be our last meeting, so I responded firmly, "No, marrying you was a mistake. It wasn't just about you using our shared assets. You lied about splitting the renovation costs with your brothers, who didn't even know about the renovation. You told your family I contributed, and you didn't even see it as a problem. All of that was the issue. To say our marriage was happy after all that is unbelievable. I will file for divorce and we will be strangers. Just be thankful I'm not reporting you, and make sure to pay the bond in the divorce trial promptly." David seemed shocked that I spoke to him so formally. As I was about to leave, David stood up, which startled me, but the lawyer stopped him. I left, ignoring his cries, which gave me chills. After that, I successfully filed for divorce. I closed the joint account David and I shared, split the balance equally, and additionally claimed a modest amount as a bond for the divorce trial, which he paid in full. I also remembered to cancel the insurance policy we had together as a couple. David apparently couldn't stay at his current company anymore and was transferred to an affiliate company. The mental toll this whole ordeal took on me is indescribable. Marriage is indeed challenging. For now, I plan to travel alone and enjoy my freedom and personal time.